I want a place where I can shower. I want a place where I can go and actually use a real toilet. I want to have food. See, this is what I think it should be in the world itself, but I can concentrate only on the United States. That I really seriously believe that we should not have, people that are, homeless. I believe that, that the United States government and other private, charitable organizations should be building more government housing. But of course, with government housing, it has to be this way. It has to be, more of a secured place, and they do have some places like that. I believe in Oklahoma City they do. They have security guards there and all that. But actual, in a car and in uniform and sometimes armed, sometimes. But that's what we need is more housing, for our people out there in the world that don't have anything. That maybe, that person, could get, them some kind of small hut apartment or something and some food stamps and, and that, to a homeless person, itty bitty little apartment and some food stamps and things like that, that would be kind of like, they had just won the lottery. Think about it, compare it. You're talking about someone who would, living on the streets, always in danger. Someone could jump in their tent in the middle of the night if they wanted to. Of course, I'm sure they've got their whatever kind of weapons they got, ready for anybody that tries to attack them in the middle of the night too. And I surely don't blame them. But it's sad in the United States it has to be this way. It really doesn't have to be this way. There is one way, though. There is one way I could think of that could stop all the, well, I can't say all. But I could say most of homelessness and would be, of course, like I had said, it's like the United States government get together and other charitable organizations of some kind, get together too and, start building apartments, start building high rises or something if need be for all these people. Yes, I know they've had, those type of high rises, what they call them the projects, and the reason they call them the projects is because it was a government projects. In other words, it was a government project. But, people, for quite some time now, I've been just calling them the projects or the jecks. But it's, yes, and in many of the big cities and stuff like that, yes, it is very crime-ridden at that. And there's, it's terrible too, though. But, it's versus, the streets, which is the same, which is worse. A lot of people would, take chances in places like that. But it didn't have to be that way either. There can be armed security guards in these places. There can be, fenced off, things, where people can't get to or something. I'm not talking about like running a concentration camp or anything, but I'm talking about, having a secured building where people don't have to worry about, bad things happening to them. And that there's security guards around there to enforce all that. And of course they have the ability to, to get the police there really quick, while they're handling the situation. Yeah, there are ways of doing this. Now, I understand that a lot of times that, that there are, people, out there that they can't really go and stay at the shelter because of a drug habit. Some kind of hard drug habit, as we have in our society, and they can't do their drugs like that in the shelters. Of course not. It's not like the back opium houses in Southeast Asia. But that's one reason people do actually live on the street. The reason I know this is one time I was working at a newspaper for the weekend. I was just doing it for a little extra money, and then it was time to we had a break and everything, and I was back there, having myself, my choice of beverage, and I had seen this guy, I saw him with I'll just call it a sack of tobacco, and it was rolling type tobacco, and I saw this guy, and I seen him rolling his cigarette. And I was kind of, because this is back in the time of when, if you really were rolling cigarettes, you really didn't have any money. But that's before, they put the sin tax on the cigarettes, which a certain dummy did. But anyhow, it's, I go and talk to him anyway. And I asked him, I said, how is it you're rolling cigarettes and everything? And I had seen your little bag you had. We had a little plastic bag, had Salvation Army on it. It's where he was staying at the time. And he, and that's what he had said, well, I'm staying at Salvation Army, this is about all I can afford, that's why I'm working to make a little money, And I said, well, okay. I said, how did you wind up like this? And, if you don't mind me asking you, and he said, well, I'd rather done drugs and been on the street, and that's the way I lived my life for a long time. That's so. Sometimes people choose to be homeless just where they can do their hard drugs. That's something that a person's will we can't change. If that's what they're going to do and they're just bent on doing it, that's what they're going to do. But I know, but there are many people out there, and I did see on an episode of YouTube about some homeless people. I saw this woman crying, telling, the people saying that, well, I'm not on drugs. And she wasn't. I believe her. She didn't look like it. And she said, but I'm just homeless because, they've increased the rent so much that I can't afford it anymore. Which, by the way, I believe that the United States government should make rent control. And I really do. That's all the other reasons that actually, there are people that, they have jobs. Okay? But the thing is, they can't afford their rent and all the other bills, so they wind up sleeping in their vehicle. It might be a nice, van or something like that, and, it might even have a hefty, price for, for the month, what it costs a month, to have it, and plus all the insurance and all that. But but a lot of people do. They have a job, but they can't afford the rent. The rent's killing them and everything, or they just actually do just wind up getting just kicked out because they can't pay it. But yet they have a job. But luckily, there are, places out there, that will allow them to stay in their parking lots overnight or even in the day, I believe, because they gives them access to a restroom and it gives them access to, buying just, if, a person was by themselves, and they didn't have anything to keep it stored in, cool wise, say like milk. If the person wanted, some milk, they couldn't get them a gallon or a half gallon of milk, it'd go bad on them. So, they go in and just get a single milk and be able to do it that way. It's a little way, that's one way people are living now. They're living out of their vehicles, yet they have a job. Folks, this is, honestly, this is not the way it should be. I realize that this earth is no nirvana, and it never will be until God destroys it and recreates it. But that's somewhere in the future right now. We don't know when that's going to happen exactly. So I'm talking about the time and the present. But my heart just goes out to these people that I've seen on YouTube myself. My heart goes out to these people that are just, they're lost. Some of them, as I said, they're mentally ill. They're not right with their thinking and their mind. And they don't take care of themselves, of course. And that's just simply the way it is. But I think and I believe somehow, some way, one of these days, me and my ministry, we're going to do something about this. One day I have a feeling, there's a very strong feeling, there's going to be some kind of a homeless type, something or other we're going to get involved in. So, and that, I believe, would be a wonderful thing. But of course, that has a lot to deal with, the funding and stuff like that for that. There would have to be some major funding for all that, but you never know. It can't happen. It can't happen. It most definitely actually can happen. But we need to be faithful, folks. We need to be faithful. We need to, remember those who are out there, that are homeless. They have, nothing. And I realize there are some, people that are out there, that they get the change or whatever, and they go and they use it on alcohol. That's wrong. That's wrong. They shouldn't be doing that. They should be buying something to eat. But not all of them do that. Of course. There are many people out there that are homeless. They're not on any drugs. They're not on any alcohol. They just wish they had a place that they could live, they'd have a roof over their head, have a little bit of security to it, have a shower, to get a shower, and to be able to, have a bunch of bugs all over you. Think about it. If any of you have ever camped out before, and everything, you definitely know about, how it is out there. But think if you had to live out there all the time. Think if you had to, but that's kind of that would be kind of hard, But I believe, that God's going to help, our people, our nation, to do what needs to be done. But we got to pray, folks. Folks, we got to pray about this. We have to pray for these persons, that are in such a situation. And we need to pray about, the homeless situation, and the persons that are out there that, really do need to go into some of the state hospitals, for their psychiatric, treatment, and probably be there for the rest of their lives. Well, those places like that have waiting lists. Believe it or not, they have waiting lists. And it's sad, but it's true.